So my mum passed away right at the start of the summer holidays. Um, and then by January of the next year, we were in care. So throughout the whole of the summer holidays, we were neglected as kids. And we, I remember my dad, he got rid of everything that reminded like him of my mum. But I think that was just his mental health. He was like, I need it gone. And I'm not going to judge him for that. But then that meant a lot of our belongings were had gotten rid of. And I remember going during the summer holidays into town, like where all the shops are, in my school uniform because I had no other clothes. So I was wearing my school uniform in the middle of the summer holidays just because I had nothing else to wear. And we had no food in the cupboards, and I remember going to Tesco and stealing food from Tesco just so me and my siblings could have food to eat because my dad wouldn't cook for us. He wouldn't buy food. He wouldn't wash our clothes. Like I was washing the clothes for the family, or whatever clothes we had. When we went to school in the September, we had holes in our shoes, we had holes in our trousers, like we stank. Like we weren't encouraged to shower and bath and things like that. And we were bullied a lot. And I think that's why it made the social services step in so quickly to move us out of that situation. Like it was a very, very noticeable difference from the end of the school year and then my mum passing away and then the start of the next. Like it took less than 3 months for the social services to be like, no, these kids need to leave this area, kind of thing. Um, so yeah, we were, because it was quite like an emergency case. There wasn't anywhere that would have been able to take 5 kids on, so we were all split up and moved into different homes.
Do you think that was the right decision to do?
Yeah, 100%. Like I don't think it was the wrong decision at all. Like we needed to be out of that situation, and it wasn't my dad's fault in the slightest. Like he was very mentally unwell. Like he wasn't able to be in any kind of capacity to look after 5 kids, let alone himself. There was a point, so like at the age of 14, 15, I'd I was obviously looking after my siblings, but then I was also going to meetings with consultants and my dad's social worker and things like that, making sure that he had the best care himself. So again, like I was almost like I turned into the matriarch of the family, making sure that everyone was fine. And it was very, very clear that my dad needed some kind of support. Um, but that's when he was diagnosed with the early onset dementia, and we found him a nursing home, and he he settled down, and we kind of made the best of the situation that we were put into.
So, did you have anybody to go to, Becca? Because it sounds like these adults who you looked up to have now disappeared and you are kind of on your own here.
I don't know, and
Did foster families help out, or was it not the same, or did you attach to anybody? Was anybody came in? Any?
no, like it was the foster care system back then was awful. Um, I remember basically having my suitcases constantly packed because I never felt like I could unpack my suitcase. I was moving from foster care, like home, constantly. There was nowhere that could take kids in for a long period of time, and it was only really when I was 16 that I settled down a little bit, because they moved me into like my own house in a way, like a little tiny little cottage house in the middle of Bangor, and I was given £70 a week to pay for my gas, electric, my food, my travel to school, everything. And that was hardly anything. I was constantly skint, but at least I had my own little place I could call home for a little bit. So when I was 16, I did start to kind of settle, but then I was still looking after my siblings, making sure that they was okay. My younger brother especially was in a very bad foster placement, where he was given pot noodles for tea every night. He was just allowed to go and play on his games, and I think that's when his addiction to video games started. because he wasn't encouraged as a child to go out and do much. So one thing that I took upon myself was that every week I'd try and get him involved in a different activity. And I got him involved in tennis lessons. So I'd spend some of my money. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it was like £8.50 every week of my money would be spent on taking my little brother to tennis lessons. It was like £3 each for the bus return, and then it was like £1.50 or £2.50 for the actual lesson, because I wanted him to do something and I took it upon myself to make sure that he was okay and that he was getting some kind of fulfillment from something else other than video games.
It's a lot of money when you're only getting £70 a week, isn't it?
But it was worth every penny to me, knowing that he was enjoying it, seeing his smile coming out of his tennis lessons. I've got a photo on my phone of him coming out of a tennis tournament that he did at the end of like the kind of the cycle of sessions, and he had a little medal in his hand, and his smile just makes me cry whenever I watch it, and we'll see the photo, because it makes me feel like I've done something good, and that's something that I've always wanted to do, is to do good and help people. And I think maybe it did kind of start from then, seeing how much helping somebody, even in a small way, can make a big difference to their lives.